And then one more area that I hope nation states start paying greater attention to is the rise of cryptocurrency, because what looks like a very interesting and somewhat exotic effort to literally mine new coins in order to trade with them has the potential for undermining currencies, for undermining the role of the dollar as the reserve currency, for destabilizing nations, perhaps starting with small ones, but going much larger. So when we think about this new environment in which we find ourselves that we've been discussing for the last some minutes, we can't just think about nation states.
You know, if there is someone who really knows about destabilizing nations, it's definitely Hillary Clinton, and there couldn't have been a better endorsement of Bitcoin ever. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Ogrodowski here of WeAreChange.org, as we got some crazy news to get into as Austria now goes into a full lockdown and makes a procedure mandatory for everyone, being the first European nation to do so, while now, of course, they're dealing with record cases, as surprisingly in Africa, they're not. Two exact opposite approaches. What's going on here? We're going to get into that, plus a lot more, all on this independent media broadcast that, of course, is provided by you and your support. But seriously, Hillary Clinton's comments during the Bloomberg New Economy Forum in Singapore is starting a lot of conversations about a new emerging technology that essentially allows anyone, anywhere in the world with an internet connection to have a bank account without any strict regulations, decentralizing the financial markets, which of course cannot be confiscated or censored by any government. And gee, I wonder why the authoritarian Hillary Clinton doesn't like it. She also, during her speech, by the way, attacked Russia, not surprisingly, sounding like yet another broken record. But if we're talking about destabilizing nations, we should also understand that this is on the heels of the House just celebrating inside of Congress as they just passed their Build Back Better bill, which of course will indebt this country to insane amounts of money for, of course, their environmental equity and, quote, infrastructure package, spending money that, of course, they don't have, while the United States is nearly in $29 trillion debt. That's literally amounting to $87,000 per citizen. And in my opinion, if there's anything destabilizing this nation, it is, of course, destroying its economic freedom, indebting it, and printing money out of thin air, hyperinflating this currency, while, of course, implementing more policies that, of course, hurt the free flow of capital by restricting it with more rules, regulations, taxes, and, quote, oversight. And to all of this, the Democrats celebrate.
Is passed.
Woohoo, yay, we're one step closer towards financial calamity, yay! Absolutely freaking ridiculous, as of course The Economist even wrote a headline that says, quote, the sharp increase in inflation over the past year has blindsided many economists. Almost no one saw it coming, and that is an absolute freaking lie. If you remember, even from the very beginning of the sickness that spread around the world almost 2 years ago now, we were telling you on this specific channel, when it comes to lockdowns, when it comes to restrictions, when it comes to the government's move here every step of the way, prioritizing the billionaire class, screwing over middle and lower America, that this is going to have significant ramifications, and that there is a tsunami storm coming with severe financial consequences. We were telling you this, and we weren't the only ones saying it. So The Economist, again, is spreading absolute fake news, disinformation, saying that somehow we were blindsided and no one saw this coming, when that is absolutely not the truth at all. In related destabilizing the country news, while of course is being robbed blind, we of course have extremely divisive situations and cases that of course are highlighted that push a divide and conquer agenda and have the American people at each other's throats for trivial differences, which I believe could be perfectly represented by the larger psychological warfare happening around the trial of Kyle. Meanwhile, file other very important court cases that would bring people together to make them see the true corruption and evil of government, like the Ghislaine Maxwell case, or of course, by and large, in my opinion, being absolutely underplayed, as of course the people who are still able to talk about these very important issues are having less and less ability to do so. But hey, that's why we built LukeUncensored.com, our own platform. If you haven't signed up for it yet, what are you waiting for? And if you appreciate everything that we've been doing throughout the many years of our work, if you appreciate the warning financially that we gave you a long time ago, the tips and tricks that we shared on LukeUncensored.com, don't forget to support us. There's many ways to do this, whether through cryptocurrencies, Venmo, Cash App, social media platforms that require no investment at all. You could support us without any money through our affiliate programs, and also checking out some of the products that I personally use, that I personally like. By purchasing these products, you help support this independent media organization. You could also send a physical mail to us. And because you do, I am extremely grateful for your support. And without it, I wouldn't be here. So thank you once again for going into the description and clicking wearechange.org/donate and seeing all the different ways where you could get involved. Now, I think it's fair to say, with the way that the current situation has been going all around the world within the last close to 2 years now, that a lot of people who were previously considered conspiracy theorists are now considered prophets by many. Now, that might be a little bit of a hyperbolic statement, but one based on the true reality of many people's personal situations, especially if you live in Austria, a major European country that has some of the most strictest, most ridiculous policies, laws, lockdowns, and mandates by their centralized government that is becoming more powerful in the day in exchange for the human rights that it takes away from their citizenry. If you remember, a few days ago, almost exactly last week, we were telling you about Austria imposing severe lockdowns specifically on individuals who didn't comply with the whims of government, who didn't get a procedure that the government said that they should have, even though some medical professionals say that some people, based on their medical history, shouldn't be taking it. The government said, if you don't do what we want you to do, we will take away your access and your ability to participate in any form of society. And they had police officers hunting down individuals, checking their papers everywhere they went, setting up roadblocks, making sure that if you went outside, that if you've gotten the correct government permission paper slip by complying with their demands. And now the Austrian government is announcing that when you did comply, you did get that permission slip, you're still locked down. Yes, I'm not kidding you. Austria is now a country where the majority of its citizens, whether they complied or didn't comply, are under full lockdown. Something, of course, that the World Health Organization has called not to do, since, of course, it not only violates basic human rights, but also the science here is questioned. There's some scientific train of thought here and studies highlighting how lockdowns may actually help spread this sickness, since, of course, people are congregating in, quote, essential areas, smaller areas, more than they would if they were more spread out. But very interestingly, the government said, hey, just take this procedure and you'll get special privileges in our society. You don't, we'll take them away. Now they're saying, well, we're just going to take them away anyway. And that, to me, is a slap in the face to anyone paying attention and to anyone who believed them in the first place. Because if you did, you're a fool. And now Austria has some of the strictest lockdowns and rules and centralization of force by their federal government almost in the entire world, as they're going into a 20-day confinement, 20-day lockdown, 20-day home prison sentence for all of its population, as of course the country with the most amount of government intervention is dealing with the most amount of cases as they are reporting them. And even though Austria has some of the most compliant rates of people doing what the government want them to do, the government there is still blaming the few remaining people who didn't comply. In Vienna, children as young as 5 are taking this procedure, and yet their cases are skyrocketing. You compare that to Africa, a country with no masks, no procedure, no lockdowns, no government intervention, no modern medical system for the majority of its population, and scientists are reporting No sicknesses there at all, as far as it's being reported. In Zimbabwe, a person was interviewed and said, the sickness is gone. Quote, when did you last hear of anyone dying from it? Adding, of course, quote, the mask is to protect my pocket, he said. The police demand bribes, so I lose money if I don't move around with a mask. Zimbabwe, of course, also recorded 0 deaths and allegedly 33 cases of this sickness this week, according, of course, to the Associated Press. Now, why is the place with the most government, the most intervention with this sickness, having the most amount of cases? Well, we don't know. Correlation does not prove causation. There's still a lot of factors that we don't even know about. There's still a lot of things that we don't even understand yet. I'm not a medical doctor, not here giving you medical advice, but there sure is a large correlation between England, Israel, Gibraltar, Singapore, Austria, and other places that have severe restrictions on its populations with, of course, a correlation of a large number of sicknesses rising. Now, this backstab by the Australian government to the people who have complied, to the people who have listened, to the people who said, okay, I'll do this procedure if you give me back my rights, now those rights are being taken away, shows you why you shouldn't be complying with a government that wants to take away your human rights. The Austrian government is now also mandating this procedure on everyone, as of course there is a major protest scheduled for this Saturday, which of course will bring out a lot of people to the streets to protest these lies and this insanity brought on to them by their own government. In Australia, even the prime minister there in that country is demanding that people should have the access to go into businesses, to pubs and restaurants, which of course has other government officials attacking him ruthlessly, calling him a, quote, weak leader because he doesn't want to discriminate against the people not complying with his government. Oh yeah, also in Austria, I forgot to talk about this, they just swore in their first ever communist mayor. And hey, you vote for the problems that you want to have, and Austrians are having a lot of problems. Africans, not so much, as well as a lot of other places with more decentralization and more bodily autonomy. While here in the United States, the Biden administration is doing its best to try to impose their will on the American people, as of course the FDA just approved the third procedure for Americans. This after, of course, many important FDA figures resigned, publicly had a resignation because they said the federal government, the Biden administration, was forcing them to do this in unethical ways. The FDA also just ruled that big pharmaceuticals have until 2076 to release their data on their studies around the safety and efficacy of this procedure that many people are questioning the safety and efficacy of, including even Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci, who of course were caught lying, telling everyone not so long ago that everything was 100% safe and effective. And of course, as we know, according to them and their own comments, that wasn't true at all. Now, as the Democrats keep pushing absolutely insane mandates, doctrines that they themselves don't follow, most Republicans are just rolling over, showing their soft bellies and saying, take me, establishment, take me, ruling elite, have your way with me, just like Glenn Youngkin, that just declared that he will not be stopping governments from discriminating against their citizens with local mandates, highlighting how most politics is just world wrestling entertainment for weak-minded individuals who, of course, all get conned and played the more that they invest in it. Now, there is some exceptions to the rules, especially when it comes to some of the absolutely bombastic comments made by the governor of Florida that, in my opinion, rightfully spoke out against these mandates. I tweeted this video. If you want to watch it, go to twitter.com/LukeWeAreChanged, and it's definitely, in my opinion, worth a watch. But do you think Republicans are going to be your saviors? Personally, I don't, but if you have any kind of compelling arguments to prove me wrong, let me know why in the comment section below. It's always best to stand with the truth rather than a political cult. I don't care if your cult is blue or red. At the end of the day, what matters the most is the truth, and that's what I stand by and do my best to represent to the best of my ability every time I get in front of this microphone. And if you thought I did a good job Share this video with your friends, with your family members, your neighbors, your community, because getting the word out, helping them see the world from a different perspective that is not from the corporate media is absolutely essential, because information is power, information is key, information is the thing that will save us from being victims of the larger trap set in front of us by many of these billionaire ruling elites that are just creating the largest transfer of wealth in recorded human history right now. I love you guys. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. Stay tuned for a lot more here on wearechange.org.